This is the last ride we'll have today. It's a beautiful day. I really should go play golf. I have a really weird common sense here today on this bike. And while we are going to start it in A mode, we're going to be super careful here. A weird feeling. Ugh. Don't know why. Alright, so you have to be really careful. I just feel funky. A mode. And this is from a guy who's rented this bike before.
I was really surprised that the R1 sounded a lot like a Panigale.
Alright, so this is the 27th, and we are on a demo at Yamaha at Coleman Powersports. Alright, it's not bad now. This is a little bit better than it used to be. Pulled off in A mode at first gear and ran up to about 3,000. Still don't think these bars are where they grips are still a little bit too high. We're just going to be ultra super careful here. Haven't ridden the R1 for a while. It's just been always under demand, and I had interest in riding other bikes. I haven't ridden it since I was in New York, really. Yeah, something like that. 3 years ago now, 2 years ago at least. That's not bad. It's much better than it used to be. Used to be it just would not give me any power off idle. Here it's just idling like a tractor off idle. But much better than it used to be. Much better than it used to be. Before it's just a disaster. You're still getting a little bit of bump throttle. I don't like is how difficult it is to get your fingers up in the brakes. This thing sail when you did a good half-second delay between when you take your finger off the throttle and you're on the front brakes. Look at this shit. This guy's making a left turn, center lane. Fucking death van. So it's a little bit touchy, no question. Honey, put your hands around them. Definitely consciously have to put a little bit of thought into it, but it's not as bad as the SC09. Well, you felt that surge there. You just have to be deliberate. I mean, the key with this thing, with these throttles, is to be deliberate with your motions. Gee, it sounds like a fucking tractor.
The Gixxers consistently impressed me more with their power delivery. Less aggressive, less of a hit right off idle as soon as you crack the throttle.
Man, that's a lot of surge. But I feel more comfortable with it in A mode because I don't have to worry about the throttle going at low RPMs. But it's definitely bucking, you know. Oops. Slow down here a little bit. Excuse me. Don't do that. That's highly distracting. We have all these other bikes to look at. We don't have time to look at your arm, okay? Don't put your arm up. Keep your arms down. So the first thing she does is give you a fucking thumb. This is what I love about humanity. You ask them not to do something, the first thing she does is turn around and do it again. So it's definitely, you know, you got a ball on your hand. The moment you touch that throttle, the bike is gonna, you know, jump a little bit one way or the other. And this clutch is really heavy too. The one thing I'm worried about is my hand won't make the trip. So I think out of deference, we're gonna switch it to B mode, or standard at least. I don't have time to be using the clutch this much. My hand is already hurting. Oh, I haven't ridden my bike in 3 weeks. My hand's already shot. Oh, but you want to know about what's a hard clutch, man? The fucking 14R has that thing is like a beast. That clutch lever is so heavy. You definitely get a good hand workout riding these bikes. So we're in standard mode now. Still in first gear. 5,000 RPM at 37 miles an hour. 55 roughly at 40. So it's bucking a little bit more often, but not as hard. So it's tolerable. Still got a monster motor under your hand though. Just a little bit easy to ride. And especially in a group. Four is just kicking around a little bit too much to do when it wasn't necessary. It's too much of a risk. We'll just crank it down a little bit. This is much smoother. While it still bucks a little bit, it's not nearly as bad as it was before. Oh, now this turn. Tell you, this bike has got some serious power. Even if it's not the most powerful motorcycle road, it's still got some serious power. See? Whoop. Now, do not think you can compare the FZ09 to this level of power. It just isn't it isn't even close. The FZ09 is like a toaster oven compared to a hot stove. You have to be careful not to spin the back end coming around on this turn. I think this bike you could find out what the limits of power are in terms of the back wheel, but I wouldn't want to find them out on a demo ride. So it's a vicious combination. A lot of weight in your hands. But your hands are going to get strong enough. You ride this bike a couple of days, 3 days. The first day, your hand's going to hate you. Second, third day, you'll get used to it. I just would turn the grips down a little bit more. They're too high. God damn this fucking fat pig. This is all off camber here. Sorry, dude, I needed the center of the road there. Just can't believe there aren't any speed traps down here. I just don't want that back tire getting loose on me. I just don't want to deal with it. The power delivery on this bike is quite aggressive. Much more aggressive than my ZX-12R. It's helping that I'm riding at too high a gear. Alright, my bike is not geared this long. I think that's the other half. I don't know how, when or why. I don't know what the difference is. It just seems to be a smoother riding bike than this bike. I mean, this bike just comes, it brings it, man. I mean, it doesn't fool around. The slightest switch in your hand, and the next thing you know, it's like there's a ton of power there. And my bike does not have nearly that much gain. It has the power, but it's not as sensitive. It's an easier bike to ride for that reason. So we will not be whipping the throttle open here, coming on this downwind. I still think we're going to run into somebody if I get this bike going. Now, of course, we would have the fastest bike in the group behind a bike which is going to hit a wall at about 6,000 RPM, requiring the guy to shift. So I think we should give this guy extra room before we do anything stupid. If she doesn't go flying off the back, I'll be very happy. Alright, this is the moment of truth right here, because somebody's going to hit the fucking fan right here. See, she doesn't get it. I need you to keep your hand down, okay?
Now, as far as the on-ramp test, I thought the bike just lacked any real punch in the mid-range. I didn't take it up to more than about 8,000 or 9,000 RPM. I think I took it to 10 at the limit. And I didn't think it was eating up the distance between the bikes ahead of me and anything like that. I didn't feel like it was going to throw me off the back. It was accelerating, but I wasn't impressed, let's put it that way. And that was in standard mode. It felt like a fast 750, probably had more punch than the Gixxer 750, but I wouldn't call it a really impressive acceleration test result there. Now you might be talking about peak numbers, peak horsepower numbers. 65, 75 foot-pounds of torque compared to a bike that has 92 foot-pounds of torque. No, not in the same class. You really have to keep in mind there's a difference between horsepower and torque. When you are accelerating, you're talking about torque. When you're talking about top speed, you're talking about power. And it might bring the 175 horsepower. It isn't bringing 100 foot-pounds of torque. It just ain't there. You might get 75 out of these bad boys. You will see the difference when you do roll-on tests.
I'm going to ask you one more time. Don't raise your hand, okay? Do you understand me?